And thank you for joining us tonight. This is the sixth of 8 community presentations. This one is for District 1. So my presentation will be focused on District 1, but at the end of the presentation, we want questions from District 1, but we will also take questions from anybody who lives anyplace else in the city. If you haven't been part of one of these before, I'll talk for a while, then Rochelle Riley, our arts director, will come up and talk about the plans for the memorial of our COVID victims, and then we will take your questions, and we'll, if you don't already know the means to call and ask a question, we'll go over those details at that point. So let's start where we always start. COVID numbers continue to be strong. The infection rate in Detroit continues to remain very low. 1 death in the last week, which is one more than we would like, but a far cry from the weeks we had 40 and 50 a week. We have to keep the commitment to the masks and the distancing. And we are getting significant crowds in parks, significant crowds in the riverfront, significant crowds downtown. There's nothing wrong with that if folks will stick to the masks and space out a little bit. We don't want to discourage you from being out, but if we don't stick to this, we're going to be back to where we were as far as the governor having to shut down our businesses. We are seeing numbers again today. The unemployment rate in Detroit went down significantly. We know a lot of our businesses are back open again. We need to keep people working, particularly since the president has managed to allow the $600 a week unemployment to lapse, and so we got to keep folks in this town working, and it really depends on this commitment. What you've seen nationally is this is a hot spot map. The redder it is, the hotter it is, so the hottest spots are, as you can see, in the south, and orange is next. The blue in southeastern Michigan actually indicated it was very cool and going down, but by the end of June, we saw what happened. The southern states, Florida, Louisiana, Georgia, they just didn't think it was important to mask or distance. They thought this was all a fake, and here's what they did to the country. It's been a huge problem, and now really because of the irresponsibility of the leadership, it has spread up into the Midwest, and we are seeing more infection rates in the Midwest, and earlier this month, Ohio, which had really been the national leader in fighting this early, passed Michigan. It wasn't because Ohio did anything wrong, but it's because the natural migration came there. We're going to have to be careful. So we're up some, but not terribly. Numbers that you saw before, we had at one point 800 patients in hospitals. We had 259 people on ventilators in Detroit on hospitals at one time. I've never seen a number like that. And we were getting 125 new cases a day. By July, we dramatically reduced it. We were down to 12 patients on vents, and we were down to 21 positive cases a week. Now, we're still the same in the hospital. Our vents, still 12 on vents, an extremely low number, but we're starting to see more cases per day. It's trending up. It's not to the level where it's dangerous, but it has the potential to get away from us as soon as we stop wearing the mask. And it is just remarkable. When you use these masks, 40% of the people don't know that they have COVID-19. That's just the reality. If you're wearing the mask and you cough, you don't infect other people. If they're wearing the mask, there's almost no chance that you will infect other people. But if you're in a group, as we've seen in some backyard parties and the like, where nobody's wearing masks, this is where the spread is occurring. And you can get a test. You can get one tomorrow. You get it for a free test. You don't need a prescription, just call. You don't have to have symptoms. We have the best testing program in the country at the fairgrounds. Call up, we'll get you in the next day. I want to talk to you about what our vision is now for the city. So the first 4 years I was here, the entire day was basically spent, get the street lights on, get the ambulances to show up, get the buses to run, get the grass cut in the parks. It was just get a non-functional city government working. Now we're to the point where we have a vision that says we can build more than downtown and midtown. we can build out business and commercial corridors in our neighborhoods. And if we create these kinds of neighborhoods, the kind of neighborhoods I remember, commercial districts I remember as a kid, where you went up to the local grocery store, you went up to the local drugstore, you went up to the local shoe store. And so if you haven't been on Livernois between 7 and 8 Mile, you should go and visit there and shop there. It is extraordinary. But we want to replicate that, and we are doing it in several areas of the city. In District 1, it is being done in partnership with the state of Michigan, MDOT, on Grand River. Everybody who's been out there knows that we're doing it, but if you haven't seen the plan, let me show you what we're doing. We're not just paving a street this time. We're trying to build a district where businesses can open and people can go to work, people can shop. And so you know what Grand River's like. If you tried to cross the street with your kid across 7 lanes of traffic, you really had to move. And to see parents with kids, strollers, senior citizens standing in that left turn lane waiting for traffic to clear was always very concerning. And so we didn't want to have Grand River be a street people sped by on their way to the suburbs. We wanted people to slow down and be part of the city. And so this is the construction that you're seeing, and here's how it's going to look. And if you can see what we're doing, we're trying to shorten the crosswalks so that you can get across them safely, and you can get from the market to the drugstore walking across the street without getting in your car and heading back out. That's what we're doing. We're well on the way east of Evergreen, and now we're doing the work on the west side. If you look at that crazy Grand River and Puritan intersection where the streets all come together, this is how it looked. But the planning department, after having a number of meetings with the neighborhood, said, let's make this into community space as opposed to an unsightly intersection. And this is what is going to be built in the next year. This is going to be Grand River and Puritan, a place where the community can come together. This is what we're trying to build. The IHOP has been closed as long as I can remember. I'm sure there's somebody here who remembers when it was open. But the plans are being developed right now by the Grand Mount Rosedale Group for a 36-unit apartment building on that site with a good number of affordable units. So again, think about what we're doing. We are trying to fill in houses in the neighborhoods, but we're also trying to build apartments, because when you have more people living there, that means businesses want to open those boarded up storefronts because they have more customers. If we do these things together, we can make a difference. And of course, Grand River and Lasser has been an eyesore for years. This is what we are building there right now. And the Obama building used to have the sign on the top with President and Mrs. Obama, is almost fully rebuilt. It's going to open this fall with commercial on the main floor and some apartments on the upper levels. This is the kind of investment you can get in your businesses if you are building the kind of quality streetscape and you're doing something with the neighborhoods. And the old Redford Library, that is a beautiful building, Councilman James Tate really pushed us to save that building and find a use. There was a plan to demolish it. We stopped it. Right now it's under construction, and it will be the center for the City of Detroit's neighborhood police officers, and it will also be a site for community meetings for Northwest Detroit. So we're saving that historic library to make it a part of the community. This is the way we are approaching the main corridors. It is time that we invest in our neighborhoods, and we are investing millions in these neighborhood commercial corridors because we think it can help bring the neighborhoods back. Of course, none of this works if we don't fill in the vacant houses in the neighborhoods and get rid of the ones that can't be saved. And so I want to talk about what we are doing in those neighborhoods. And our children have been growing up in neighborhoods filled with blight since Jerry Kavanaugh promised in 1965 he would get rid of the vacant houses. This has been going on for a half a century, and the city leaders have not dealt with it. But I am very pleased that Detroit City Council has placed an issue on the ballot this November 3rd, Proposal N, a $250 million bond issue, which will allow us to have a dramatic impact. So we had federal funds help us. With President Obama, we got $265 million. We demolished 21,000 abandoned houses in 6 years. And if you've been in those neighborhoods, you know that somebody was living next door to that house. And today, that's the way that same lot looks. How would you have liked to have been the people who lived on both sides. Their quality of life improved dramatically the day we took down that burned out house. This is an entire block on Lorraine, and here's how it looks today. The people who stayed now have a quality block, and we got the potential to do some other things on that block. And again, here's 15th Street. Look how it looks today. It's beautiful, and I don't know if you can see on the far right side, but there's somebody on a ladder fixing up the house. Nobody was going to spend money fixing up the house when the place 2 doors down was about to fall over. This is what happens when we actually invest in blight removal. It actually spreads improvement to the rest of the neighborhood. But we still have 14,000 houses that can't be saved, that have got to be knocked down. And we track every single one. Every single one of those red dots is an abandoned house that can't be saved. And 1,200 of them are in District 1. If you look at this, you can see how they're spaced out. There's some areas that are clustered, Brightmoor and some others, but there's a whole lot of neighborhoods with 1 and 2. And one burned out house on a block can bring down the entire block. This is the great thing about Proposal N, because what we're saying we're going to do is, before we knock down the houses, we're going to save the houses we can save. And you've all seen this. People cleared out of this city so fast between 2010 and about 2015, they left behind lots of solid houses. And the pictures on this page, all 6 of them are houses that are for sale on the land bank site. These are the kinds of houses that we can move families into. And wouldn't it be great if, instead of knocking down these 8,000 houses, we moved 8,000 families into the city? What would that mean to housing availability and keeping housing affordable if we save those 8,000 homes? And so here are the houses in District 1 that we know can be saved. They're in good shape. They've been inspected. There's 563 families in District 1 that we could add in the next 3 or 4 years if we can get Proposal N passed. And so here are the 6 principles. And on November 3rd, you're going to decide. It's your money. It's your decision whether we should go forward with this. And I'm going to honor whatever the voters say, because it's my job to work for you. But the first thing we're going to do is this. We're going to save all 8,000 houses that can be saved, that can be rehabbed, and we're going to secure the outside exteriors of every single one, and I'll show you how we'll do that. Then we're going to take the balance and knock down 8,000 houses that can't be saved. So as we roll down these blocks, we'll secure the good ones that can be saved, knock down the burned out ones that can't be saved. The land bank is now out of the demolition business. 2 weeks ago, the land bank knocked down its last house. The federal funding required the city to run the money through an outside entity through the land bank. It wasn't something we wanted to do. It was something the feds required. It was a very dumb idea as far as I'm concerned, because you had a small organization that had no experience in demolition, and we essentially forced them to run $265 million in programs. Now we have brought the demolition program back into the city. It's run by the Detroit Demolition Department. It's got the oversight of the city procurement process, where we've had no problems at all, and it's overseen by City Council. And so the issues we've had in the past will be behind us. Here's the other thing. When we were using federal money, we were not legally allowed to give preference to Detroit businesses, because federal money, under federal rules, is the whole country's money. You can't favor your local companies. But if we pass Proposal N, those bond proceeds come from us, and the city of Detroit is entitled to give preference to Detroit companies when they bid, so we can get Detroit companies rebuilding Detroit, and we can require them to hire 51% Detroiters on the job or pay into a training fund. Most of the jobs on a demolition project are entry-level jobs that people with high school degrees who want to do the work and get trained can do. We can put Detroiters to work, working for Detroit companies, rebuilding Detroit neighborhoods. And it will not increase your taxes. You say, how can this be? Well, I'll show you in a minute how it works. But what we're going to be able to do is, because we have done so well in our finances, our credit rating has improved, we paid off a lot of funds, we've got the ability to borrow this money without raising the taxes 1 cent above what you're paying this year. So Let's talk about the 8,000 that I think we can save. And many of you are in neighborhoods that have seen it, but you'll have a house like this one on Pingree that has been renovated and looks like this. This is what the land bank has been doing. It's been very positive. This house on Cadillac and other times would have been demolished for sure. Now it's restored, and look how beautiful that is. This is East Grand Boulevard. They were all abandoned, and here's how it looks today. We can do this 8,000 more times in this city if we can pass Proposal N. Now, what happens if we don't? Again, I'm going to tell you, anybody who's lived in the city for any period of time is going to know about what I'm saying. You'll have a house like this one on Grayfield. In November of 2018, it could have been saved. It was structurally sound. But when you leave a house abandoned, every month it's abandoned, it deteriorates. Whether it is vandals, arson, water in the rain and the roof from the weather, but 6 months later, that house on Grayfield had been burned and couldn't be saved. This house on Seminole is beautiful. Could have been saved in July of 2018, but a year later, here's what it looked like. And this house on Greenview, nice house, could have been saved. 2 years later, this is what it looked like, and it actually caught the house next door on fire with it. This happens 1,000 times a year, that a house that could have been saved, that we could have moved a family into, deteriorates to the point it has to be demolished. And it's a big part of why the city for 50 years has been chasing its tail on these demo programs. It wasn't saving the houses that could be saved, and they just kept demolishing over and over. So how do we do it? First, we go in and we clean them out. We clean out the house and we clean out the backyards so that they look like this. And we're going to roll through those 8,000 houses and clean them out. And everybody knows what kind of stuff is in these houses. Then, we're going to secure them. Today we've secured them with plywood, and that is certainly better than nothing. So the houses we boarded the last 2 or 3 years, but a major step forward. But there's not a day goes by I don't get a call from somebody. They pulled the plywood off. There's a drug dealer in there. There's a squatter in there. Kids are in and out of there. It isn't as secure as you want. The next thing you know, somebody set a fire to keep warm, and the house is caught. It is far better to use SecureView, which is essentially a bulletproof plastic material that can seal the doors and the windows, be secured by a heavy padlock so that folks can't get in and out. Or you've seen these steel exteriors that can cover the doors and windows. Now we'll make the house secure, and then we've got to stop the water coming in from the roof doing damage, so we will go through and secure the roofs. Once we do that, you think about what you've got. If somebody wants to buy the house, they can put a furnace in and not worry that it's going to be stolen. They can put in drywall and not worry that the rain is going to come in and ruin it. And so we will make it easier to find buyers, and we can work with City Council to give preference to neighbors and community groups and local churches to buy houses in their neighborhoods and fix them up. This is something that would have been impossible 5 years ago. We can sell these bonds without raising your taxes. We have, since we left bankruptcy and everybody thought we were finished, people were talking about a second bankruptcy. And Detroit City Council has been an outstanding partner in making sure we have balanced our budget every year. 7 bond rating upgrades. I'm sure there's not another city in America that has had 7 bond rating upgrades in the last 5 years, but we have, which puts us in an ability to borrow money where we couldn't have before. And when COVID hit and people were dealing with financial crises, we moved so quickly in balancing the budget that Standard & Poor's has given us national recognition in the way we're operating. Who would have thought, you see the day, that Detroit is being praised nationally for its financial management. We have paid down more than $180 million in principal since 2014, and that puts us in a very strong position. So now we are in a position where we can sell the $250 million in bonds and your tax rate won't go up above where it is this year. Now you'll pay over a longer period, and it's much like if you were to refinance your house to do your kitchen and spread the mortgage over more years at the end. You can do that without it going up in the future years, but you're going to pay over more years. That's what this bond issue does. It pushes an obligation out, and the question that you have to make is this: what is it worth to raise our children in blight-free neighborhoods? Should we spend the money to do it now, or should we wait 5 or 10 years? And I at least don't want to see us raise another generation of children in this town growing up thinking blight is normal. I had a chance early this year, before COVID shut us down, to visit a number of the historically black colleges and universities in this country. And lots of Detroiters, and I was recruiting them for summer internships because I wanted to get the talent out of the HBCUs back to the city of Detroit to help build the city for the long run. And everything I heard, every place I went, is students saying, when the Detroit students come here, they tell us about the burned out houses, being afraid to walk past a house in their neighborhood. This is not normal in other cities. We should not be scarring our children with this blight now, and this is a chance to finally deal with it. And so we're going to be able to give Detroit companies the preference because if you are headquartered in Detroit or you hire 51% Detroiters, we give you bonus points on your bids, which means Detroiters will win a lot more of the bids. And we're sure that we can get more than 50% of the contracts to Detroit companies. And so what happened on Proposal N is something I have never seen. 20 black Detroit contractors formed a coalition and lobbied City Council intensely, saying this is our turn, this is our time. Under these rules, this $250 million is going to give us a real chance to build wealth in this community, and we can make money improving our city. They were the factor that got this on the ballot, and they're out there campaigning for it because they believe Detroit companies are going to benefit, and they've all agreed to follow the executive order requiring 51% Detroiters be employed or make them pay into a fund to train Detroiters so they can get employed the next time. Detroit at Work, which has done such a great job in this town, will run training programs to train our folks to be in there. There's about 14 jobs for every time there's a demolition, from the beginning inspections to the asbestos removal, to the clearing of the site, to the demolition, to the trucks driving away, to filling in the dirt, to planting the grass and the landscaping. Most of those 14 jobs can be done with individuals with a high school degree and additional training. We will be training for those jobs so that Detroiters can fill them. And so what we're saying is on November 3rd, this is what's been happening for years. 1,000 times a year, good houses deteriorate to the point they have to be demolished because nobody acts. If we get the support, we'll be able to take houses like this and renovate them to the kind of neighbors that you want. That's our vision. It's going to be your decision. And I'm really hopeful that we're talking about bringing neighborhoods back and we're not talking about blight anymore. It's kind of an interesting thing. Nobody talks about getting the streetlights on anymore. Okay, we forgot about it. The lights come on, which is like a normal city. Most cities don't get excited when the streetlights come on at night. We're not talking about streetlights anymore. I want to be to the day we're not talking about blight in the neighborhoods anymore, and I think we could do it. We have, over the last 6 months, had enormous pain in COVID-19. And before the city rallied together and knocked COVID down, we lost 1,500 of our neighbors. And many folks, even if your loved one didn't die from COVID-19, you couldn't grieve. You couldn't have visitation at a funeral home. You couldn't hold a funeral. And there was no way for the community to come together. We have an outstanding director of our arts, culture, and entrepreneurial department, Rochelle Riley, who left her career at the Free Press. And I asked her to take on the charge of figuring out a way to do a memorial that Detroiters could come together and could remember what we lost this year. And at this point, that memorial is going to be Sunday night and Monday. We want to have this community participate. And at this point, I'd like to ask Rochelle Riley to come up and talk about what her plans are and how you can remember the folks we lost. Rochelle?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Detroit has lost 1,500 people, real people, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, police officers, firefighters, and a little girl named Skylar Herbert. Without funerals, some people have not believed the pandemic is real. So when the mayor asked me to figure out a way for us to honor people properly, and you want to have 1,500 funerals, but you can't have that many people in churches, we had to come up with something else, so we found a way. He has declared Monday, August 31st, Detroit Memorial Day, and the city is going to hold a 2-day commemoration that honors the Detroiters we've lost to COVID, but also to those who are continuing this amazing fight. And I've seen people working like you would not believe in shelters, at City Hall, feeding people, food banks, churches. We have done an awesome job, but we still have to remember those that are no longer with us. So at 5 p.m. Sunday, we're going to start the 2-day celebration at 5 p.m. on Memorial Eve with simultaneous intimate events in 5 city districts. You can contact your city council member to talk about them, but I can tell you in District 2, where I'll be, because Councilman Roy McAllister has insisted, we will be honoring Captain Frank Williams, and we will be dedicating the site of a firehouse that's going to be painted with a beautiful mural in honor of the firefighters that we have lost. These commemorations are hosted by your city council members, so you should call them and they can give you the details. But I can tell you a little bit. In District 2, there's going to be a mural on the Child Star Development Building at that address on 7 Mile. In D3, there's going to be a mural on the Farwell Recreation Center. In D4, there's going to be a memorial walk with this amazing walking club that lost a lot of their folks in Chandler Park. And in District 6, Councilwoman Castaneda Lopez is having a candlelight ceremony with music, a harpist, and some poetry. And then in D7, Councilman Gabe Leveland is going to be dedicating a memorial bench that they're going to have, so every time somebody has a chance to walk and sit a little, they can reflect on what we've been through. But on Memorial Day, Monday, beginning Monday morning, the city is going to host the Memorial Drive on Belle Isle. There's the route. We didn't do the whole island. We could have with 900 photos, but we've managed to make them fit in that space. And at 8:30 a.m., the mayor is going to lead a very brief program to kick off Memorial Day. The governor is coming to speak, and we're going to have a couple of special surprises. But at 8:45 a.m., he is going to ask residents across Southeast Michigan, and everybody in Southeast Michigan was eventually from Detroit, every neighborhood, church, business, street, to ring bells for 15 minutes in honor of the 1,500 we've lost. And while those bells are ringing, the first of those 15 funeral processions will begin around the island. And they're going to be led by the Swanson Funeral Home, who lost their great leader, O'Neill Swanson, earlier this year. But they're bringing out the LaSalle that they used in Aretha's funeral to lead that first procession. They're going to drive around to say a final goodbye and take a last look, in some cases, at folks that they weren't able to be with when they died. These are 4-by-4-foot billboards that families will keep when it's over. The island is going to close, and all residents will be encouraged, will demand that you go home so you can watch the Ford Company fireworks. And on September 1st and 2nd, Belle Isle will be back open to the public for everyone, bikers, joggers, runners, fast cars, not too fast, so that you can drive the route or you can walk the route, and families can come back to lay flowers or take pictures and pay their respects. That's what it looks like. I've been out there all day today, and that's kind of what it looks like. My friend Brenda Perriman is graciously in this illustration, but there are lots of people that you will recognize that we lost. Isaac Robinson and Morris Hood, and I could go on, but I remember that I lost 8 friends in the first 2 weeks once we finally took this seriously. So this is a chance for us to heal. And I can tell you that the most important thing you can remember is that those faces all belong to a person, but they're all the spirit of Detroit. And every family and a whole bunch of other people will get a special commemorative program that has that image on it, and it has the names of all of the lost souls, and it has the names in particular, and this is very important, of the sponsors who made this happen, because, Mr. Mayor, I didn't spend a dime of city money to do this, not one dime. We have our presenting sponsor, Ford Motor Company Fund, our repass sponsors, and that's what I forgot to tell you. I believe in feeding people. I'm sure you can imagine. I'm from North Carolina originally, but I'm a Detroiter now, and we can't take potato salad and pound cake to anybody's house, but we're going to pay for repass after the funeral processions for all the families. So we want to thank our repass sponsors, TCF Bank and the amazing Gary Torgow, who never says no, United Way for Southeast Michigan and their head, Darian Driver, who is amazing, Our gold sponsors were Blue Cross Blue Shield, Huntington Bank, and Walker Miller Energy Services. Caller Walker Miller is amazing. Our bronze sponsors were Global Automotive Alliance, thank you, Bill Picard, and the Library Collective. We had an art gallery to give us $5,000 to help make this happen. And then we had Love, Hope, and in-kind sponsors, Century Partners, Parade Company, Deidre Lambert Bounds, Monique Baker McCormick, who's a county commissioner, and Church Street Media, and the Detroit Tigers. So please, please, please help us put a collective embrace around our families on Monday, and then on Tuesday and Wednesday, go out yourself to see this amazing display of love. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rochelle, for all you've done. And one last point before we take questions is the fireworks company is doing fireworks that night at sundown, but it will not be in the city of Detroit. It's going to be at a suburban site 20 miles outside the city, so nobody has to go to Belle Isle to watch the fireworks because you won't be able to see them. They won't be anywhere near the city, but you can watch them at home. So if you haven't done this before, this is your opportunity to ask questions. I'm here with people from several of the departments, the police department, the building safety department, the law department, the land bank, roads, water, parks, and the like. And so if I can't answer your question, there is somebody here that will be able to do it. So if you have a question, you can see the instructions on how to raise your hand. If you're on your telephone, you press *9. When you come on, please tell us your name and tell us what neighborhood you live in. And then I'd ask that you ask your question as concisely as you can, because I'd like to get through as many of them as possible by 8:30. If you don't have a question, you want to talk, you'll have 60 seconds, and then you'll be muted, and we'll go on to the next person. And I would ask that you give the people in District 1 the courtesy of the early part. This is their day. And then maybe after 20, 30 minutes, people from any other district can call in and ask questions, and we will take all of them. And with that, we'll take our first question of the evening.
Thank you. The first caller is the phone number ending in 262.
Your phone number ends in 262. You're on.
Phone number ending in 26. Go ahead.
You there?
Okay, I think I'm here.
Okay, tell us your name and where you live.
Mr. Mayor, Michael Williams, and I'm over in the Brightmoor community.
Oh, okay. I would have recognized your voice.
Yeah, I've got a lot of feedback, so I'm going to move to another area. Just wanted to talk with you about, we have been working with this park project over here on the Burgess Street. And we had a conversation just recently. I am, again, at a crossroads, and I need your assistance. I have been communicating with a number of individuals and corporations that want to sponsor, and I'm up to somewhere between about $250,000+ that can go into this project. But I still need to get some answers, and I have not been able to do so. So if I would like to just have a sit down with yourself, with Gary Brown from the Water Department, and Saskia Thompson from the Land Bank, so that we can hash out whatever needs to be hashed out with respect to either the acquisition or the leasing of this property. The Land Bank was supposed to have their board meeting just 2 days ago. The board meeting was canceled, which pushes it into September, which will likely push this project sometime into 2021. And I'm not certain if I can hold on to some of the people who are so altruistically wanting to put money into this project. So if there's any way that we can meet to
Okay, so Saskia, what's the story on the board meeting? Okay, is there a way that we can speed up his property? Okay, so Saskia Thompson's here. We're going to get you a hold maintain agreement even ahead of the actual board meeting, and Palencia Mobley's here from the Water Department. Is there anything holding up the lease to Mr. Williams of the Water Department land? All right, so I'm going to ask Deputy Mayor Conrad Mallett if we can't bring this to conclusion. This conversation has gone on way too long, but I have made a commitment to Mr. Williams, who is looking to build a park for the benefit of the people in the Brightmoor area, and what we have committed is that the property that the water department needs long-term for stormwater management will be leased to him until we need it, and that could be a period of years. And the property the land bank has that does not need to be stormwater management gets deeded to him as quickly as possible. So the deputy mayor will be on that. He will call you tomorrow. He's a great lawyer, and we'll bring this to conclusion. So thank you, Mr. Williams. I support your project, and I'm going to see if we can actually get the bureaucracy to support you too. All right, who's next?
Next is Michael.
Michael, you're on.
Hello, Michael Cunningham.
How are you? It's all Michaels tonight.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Where do you live?
I'm at Burger King, but
Okay.
Just had a comment.
You know, I hope you don't live there.
no, I do not. I live in the Palmer Park area.
Okay.
I've been asking this usually about transportation.
Okay.
I want to remind everybody and ask if you had your press secretary had a link because Joe Biden and yourself had got a grant for
Right.
the buses so they
Right.
can pull out.
Right.
Years ago, the bus system didn't have enough buses to pull out, and Joe Biden had got a grant, and I can't remember what the grant was called.
Yeah.
And you and him had a success in getting a grant and funding for the city of Detroit as regards to public transportation. Am I right? Is that what happened?
It was remarkable. People remember 2014, 2015. You stood out there on the corner. We didn't even bother with schedules because a third of the buses in the city had been broken down. You stood there till they came by. And when the vice president came in, I said, I just need one thing. I need buses because we got people who can't get to work. And he facilitated a national competition of unspent federal bus money from other cities. And we won it. I think we got nearly 100 new buses. It's the reason that we are running now probably 40 or 50% more service with newer buses than we were running a few years ago. And he was remarkable, and he came out the day the last bus was delivered to see it go on the road. So it is good to have friends, as we had with the Obama administration, but there's no doubt about it. If you're happy with your bus service, the vice president had a lot to do with it. You got a good memory.
So I've been doing it a long time, but Dan Dirks, I talked to him on the phone, and we sit down a lot.
Right.
And he gave me your press secretaries, and I emailed him to see if he had some type of link or some type of a link or was there an article done about what happened? Because I'd like to put it out amongst the other groups and on my Facebook and social media how Biden how that played out. I would like to have something explaining how that played out during this election season.
So John Roach is here, and he says he's going to get that right to you. And since you're clearly an extremely knowledgeable transit advocate, I hope you'll also organize some folks to come out and lobby for the new transit center I want to build at the state fairgrounds so that the 30,000 people a week who come through the 8 Mile and Woodward routes have the same kind of quality facility to wait in on transfers that we do downtown at the Rosa Parks Center. And so if we can get this Amazon thing through City Council next month, we are going to build a first-class transit center. I think it's going to make a real difference to all those folks who are sitting out there at State Fair and Woodward today in the heat or the cold or the rain and waiting for their bus.
I thank you so much, Mayor Duggan. And Mr. Roach, I sent you the email, but
Okay, we usually don't really want to give out phone numbers over. When we replay this video, can we make sure we delete that? But he knows who you are, and he's going to get back to you.
all right, and I thank you for talking to a nobody like myself.
I know. Go out back to Burger King.
All righty, bye-bye.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Do we have anybody who's not named Michael?
Yes, this is Summer.
Summer, you're on.
Hi, Mayor Duggan. This is Summer Crawford out of Brightmoor, District 1.
Good evening.
Good evening. Really quick, I have a question in regards to this upcoming election. Very recently, had a situation with the City of Detroit Department of Elections in regards to my write-in declaration of intent. I filed it on the day of the election with the poll worker, found out that the information was not transferred to the Wayne County Kathy M. Garrett's office until today. I personally spoke with Janice Winfrey on Tuesday, this on the 25th, who informed me face to face, and she called me, oh, I have it right here in my hand, and we'll see what we can do. And so I received a call from Kathy M. Garrett's office because I pushed and I held on to my declaration of intent to find out what is going on with these write-in candidates in regards to the election. And so I know that you experienced, write-in back in 2013, and you were very successful. Today, I received a call from Kathy M. Garrett's office, and they did a phenomenal job. My information. What I was in shock about was that it was after the election, after the official results had.
Time.
So your point is extremely well taken, and I think it's terrific that you've got that level of commitment to vote. If everybody in the city has that level of commitment, Detroit will decide the presidential outcome in the state of Michigan this November. I think Janice Winfrey would be the first one to tell you that the August elections were not well run. And she is facing what many, and really all across the country, folks are facing, is that you remember every year you go to vote, it was the same folks who used to be at the election day, and a number of them have gotten up in age. What has happened is that the older folks who have worked these election days all these years are not coming out in crowds because of COVID. You can understand their reluctance. And so clerks across the country are dealing with the fact they have new workers that are being recruited who aren't experienced. And there were a number of mistakes made in August, I think because of the large number of mail-in votes and the number of inexperienced workers. I got to tell you, in the last 2 weeks, what I have seen out of Janice Winfrey in the clerk's office, I am very encouraged by. They recognize the mistakes. They are all over it. We're going to have 27 polling places opened a month early where you will be able to go in and vote on the spot. So we won't have to deal with the fact that the president doesn't want the post office to deliver your ballot. You'll be able to go in, fill out your absentee ballot application, get handed a ballot, and vote right there. It's basically an early voting location. We're going to have lock boxes. You can drop your ballots off. And we are recruiting, and for all practical purposes, most city departments are going to shut down November 3rd and 4th, so we can take people who are used to dealing with government issues and put them at the disposal of the clerk for those 2 days to be able to deal with exactly the kind of issues you're raising. And so I can't tell you that August went well. Fortunately, none of the elections were close, so nobody has really paid attention. But if we don't get it right in November, when you think about Trump carried Michigan by 9,000 votes 4 years ago, it'll be something that we will all regret. And so we're all pitching in, and in the last day or so, we are hearing from Jocelyn Benson, who I think is going to be directly engaged in the Secretary of State's office, and I think everybody's going to pull together. And I really am starting to think we're going to have an election day with no drama in Detroit. We've got a lot of work to make that happen, but that's our goal, and I'm confident the clerk is going to get these things fixed.
Next is Marcia.
Marcia, you're up.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Marcia Brew, North Rosedale Park Civic Association. I am appealing to you for assistance in obtaining DPW approval for new perimeter sidewalks in our park that is owned by our Civic Association but open to everyone. The proposed new sidewalks along Scarsdale and Glastonbury would connect to existing sidewalks on the north, west, and south sides of the park. We have a grant from the Kresge Foundation for the project. DPW is insisting that the new sidewalks have to be 6 feet wide rather than the 5-foot width shown on our construction drawings. We're asking for approval of 5-foot sidewalks for the following reasons. A 5-foot width would be consistent with all city sidewalks in North Rosedale Park. These would be the only sidewalks in our entire neighborhood that would be 6 feet wide. 5 feet is consistent with connecting sidewalks already in place and around the park, and with new sidewalk construction in the neighborhood. And also the 5-foot width eliminates any intrusion on our 290 100-year-old soccer fields along Glastonbury that convert to ice skating rinks in the winter.
I got the idea, Marcia. You make a very compelling case. I want to hear from the other side right now, and then I'll get on top of this. But Ron Brundage from DPW is here, and I want to see if he can make nearly as compelling a case for 6 feet as you just made for 5 feet. So we'll give him his chance.
Hi, Marcia. How are you? I don't know if you can hear me or not, but obviously I'm fully aware of what you all want to do over in Rosedale Park. And I know you and I have talked about this project for a couple different times. And what I'd like to do, and we can have a conversation tomorrow, is for that area of the sidewalk where you're going to be connecting to existing 5-foot sidewalk. We're fine with the new sidewalk that goes in being 5 foot. But there's a portion of new sidewalk that you're putting in where it doesn't currently exist, and it doesn't connect to any other sidewalk. And what we'd really like to do to just maximize the amount of space for whether folks are in wheelchairs or make sure that we have maximum or the normal minimum required sidewalk width. We'd really like for you guys to consider just that particular space to be our typical 6-foot wide sidewalk, which is what we have throughout the city. But I certainly agree with you that portion of sidewalk that connects to existing 5-foot sidewalk, and I have no idea why it was originally constructed to only be 5 foot wide, but I certainly agree with you for the new sidewalk that will connect to existing 5-foot sidewalk. DPW can agree to allow for that, but I'd like to have an additional conversation with you about the area where new sidewalk is going in where it doesn't currently exist. But if you don't mind, Marcia, if I can give you a call tomorrow, we can talk about it in more detail, and I'm pretty certain that before the end of the day tomorrow, we'll have an agreement.
Thank you.
I guess just listening to this, and I knew that Ron would have a good reason, but Marcia, if we worked it out that in the area where the city insisted on 6 feet instead of 5 feet, the city paid the difference in the extra cost for the wider sidewalk, would that be a fair solution? Did we lose Marcia?
Intrude on our soccer fields, but whoops.
Marcia, go ahead.
Okay, it still would intrude potentially on the soccer fields, but I'd certainly be open to that after talking with Mr. Brundage tomorrow.
Okay, so let's look at that, and we don't want to make it risky for the kids who are playing in the field. So let's take a close look at that, and I'm really confident that the two of you will work this out. I got two dedicated, public-spirited people. I know you're going to work it out tomorrow, and if you don't, Marcia, call me after that. You know how to find me. All right, who's next?
Next is phone number ending in 500, 500.
Okay, if your phone number ends in 500, you're up.
Good evening.
Good
Can you
evening.
hear me?
Tell us your name and where you live.
My name is Diane Patterson. I live in the Grandmont community in D1 and just east of Southfield, and are a member of the 5 Grandmont Rosedale neighborhoods.
Great.
First, I'd like to thank you for the improvements to our neighborhood. The Improved Detroit app works exceptionally well, and in my opinion, it's very effective. The concern most often is accountability and actual enforcement. But my question is two-part. The first part is, can our area expect any collaboration with the city and MDOT to continue the Grand River improvements, perhaps with a few modifications, eastward from Southfield to Greenfield and beyond? And secondly, what neighborhood improvements are planned for the Grand River Greenfield corridor moving forward? We need substantial businesses and restaurants. Thank you.
So I would say two things. One is, eventually, I would love to push the streetscapes east. We're trying to get to the entire city. So, for example, in District 2, we took Livernois, built that beautiful streetscape a little bit south of 7 Mile. I'd like to take it all the way to 6 Mile, but we need to be able to do Conant on the east side. And we needed to be able to do Grand River in your area. We're going to need to do Dexter. And so right now, we're trying to create a quality strip in each area, but I agree with you that continuing east on Grand River makes a lot of sense. What we are doing, coupling with the streetscape, is we are going to businesses and saying, we got a lot of vacant storefronts, as you well know, in that area. And our businesses, whether you're a restaurant or a shop or whatever the case may be, you got a lot of choices of vacant buildings in this city. And what we're trying to do is get them to cluster into areas where there's a lot of houses, because that's what they want. Nobody wants to open their business in an area where people are moving out. They want to open their business in an area where people are moving in. And Grandmont in particular is an area where there are a lot of houses that can be renovated and have people move into them. And so if we can get Proposal N through, get people moving in, continue to target Motor City Match and our other programs to that Grand River Strip, I think you're going to see it go very well. We opened 22 businesses in 1 year in a mile on Livernois because people said, this is where I want to be. I think we can do that on Grand River as well, and that's going to be our goal.
Okay, next is phone number ending in 169.
Okay, your phone number ends in 169. You are up. Anybody with a phone number ending in 169? Does that sound familiar to you?
I will move on and come back.
Okay.
Hello.
Oh, there you are.
Yes, I am. My name is Patricia Williams. Good afternoon. Thank you all for taking my call. I live on Foyer Street,
Okay.
and we are in desperate need of speed bumps. We have a lot of children living on the street, and cars speed up and down the street all hours of the night and day.
So there is no doubt about it. We put speed humps in for the first time 3 summers ago, and they have become the most popular improvement in town. And I'm excited about that. This year we put in 1,200 to get every school and park to slow traffic down, because it's just frightening to watch the way some of these cars zip past our children playing. We are going to have a large number of speed humps. I don't know the number yet. We're working on the budget, but there's going to be a huge additional number added in 2021. And we are right now assessing traffic, speeding, places where people are taking shortcuts to put them in. The other thing that we are doing is we are continuing to build the police force. In spite of all the protests, we've had record academy classes in July and August. We're getting 35, 40 people a class come in. And when we give the precinct commanders these additional staff, I know they intend to put them out on the street in traffic enforcement. And so a combination of speed humps aren't going to do us any good on the mile roads or the half-mile roads. We can't use them there. And a combination of police officers on traffic patrol and speed humps are the answer. And so if you continue to talk to Carla, your district manager, we'll take a look at your street. But there'll be a lot more streets added next year, and I hope you become one of them.
Okay, next is phone number ending in 924.
If your phone number ends in 924, you are up. Whose phone number ends in 924?
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is Andrea Johnson. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, Ms. Johnson. Where do you live?
I'm in District 3.
Okay.
And I am so thankful that we're having this meeting.
Okay.
I lost a loved one. Yeah, I lost a loved one with the COVID, so thank you for getting someone like Rochelle Riley. I love her very much, so I can breathe, because we had no funeral for my husband, one.
Oh.
But this is why I'm calling. I live on a street called Runyon, and we need speed bumps.
Okay. Did you hear the last person?
They went down the street so fast that the car crashed into the vacant house. That's one, and somebody died. Okay? But this is why I'm calling. I live at, and I got red tape on the lot next to me, which is, I tried to buy the other one. I'm glad I did not, because the land bank, whoever they put in charge to be supervisors, it's a hold in that lot. But I'm trying to purchase to cut the red tape. I went down and got the taxes for the property, and the taxes is $144. I would like, since we're in the COVID, I would like to grow some greens, some mustard, some turnips, and turn the land and do something while I'm here on the block. I keep the block clean. On my side of the street, there's 2 houses that live, a lady down the street, Kim, and myself. Other than that, it's a block where when they came in and knocked these houses down, nobody supervised. They broke the sidewalk, and it's still broken, and I sent it to Mr. Johnson.
What year did they knock the houses down?
I want to say they knocked the house down next door about 4 years ago.
Okay, so
4 years ago.
that's our responsibility,
And, they,
and so I'm going to deal with it. So
and the side-
hang on. We're going to solve your problem. We're going to help you, and I'm glad you called because the person in charge of the land bank, Saskia Thompson, is here, and she doesn't want to own the land. She wants to get the lots. I'm going to let her speak to you, and then you can we'll get your information. You can talk to her tomorrow. But Saskia, come on up.
Hi, again, I'm Saskia Thompson with the Land Bank Authority. As the mayor said, if it's a lot that we own and something, there was a previous demo on it, so between myself and the demolition department, we'll take a look, we'll assess what needs to happen on that lot, rectify the situation, and hopefully be able to sell it as a side lot once the situation is cleared up. So we have your address, and leave your contact information with the people on the phone, which I'm getting a nod, so we'll have your contact information, and I'll call you tomorrow, and we'll figure out what the next steps might be.
So Saskia is definitely looking forward to the day she doesn't have to deal with demolition and she only sells lots to the community, and that's where we're going, and she's going to do a great job at it. So we'll get that solved for you. Okay, who's next?
Next is phone number ending in 717.
717, if that's your last 3 numbers of your phone number, you're up.
Yes, I'm from, my name is Claudia Robinson. I'm in District 1, Rosedale Park area. And they did put speed bumps up, but I would like to know what they're going to do with the sidewalks and the water lines they're going through. Every time they come that way, it's like they just skip over Stahalem between Florence and Vern. So I would like to know what improvement are they going to do on Stahalem?
So let's start with this. If the city repaves the street, the city replaces the sidewalks. If the city doesn't repair the street, the sidewalk is really the responsibility of the homeowner unless a city tree broke the sidewalk. And as far as the water side, are you saying the water department tore up the street?
No. I said they working in the area. I said, are they going to do anything on Stahalem from Florence to Vern?
So Palencia and Mobley's here. You don't want them to tear up your street, do you?
No.
Palencia, do you know the answer to this?
I just want them to do some type of improvement on Stahalem instead of doing improvement all around Stahalem. Do some improvement on Stahalem.
So you got speed humps, but so we did something, right?
Yeah, you did something.
Okay, just check it. All right. So Palencia Mobley is going to talk to you. She runs the water department along with Gary Brown, and if she doesn't have the answer today, she's going to call you at the tomorrow. But Palencia, come on up.
Okay.
Good evening, Ms. Johnson. What I will do tomorrow is confirm whether or not Stahalem between Florence and Vern requires water main replacement. We assessed all of North Rosedale Park beginning in 2018 and began design in 2018 and construction now in 2020. So we will check tomorrow. We have your phone number and we'll give you a call. Thank you.
All right, so Palencia doesn't have the entire street map memorized, but she's going to call you tomorrow and give you the answer. All right.
Next is phone number ending in 414.
Okay, your phone number ends in 414. You are up.
Good evening, Mayor. This is Ivan Johnson. I live in Rosedale.
Okay.
And I know you talked about the increased police, and hopefully they will assign some of those new officers to traffic. I think you did a great job on Grand River with the bump outs and the streetscape. That's a good thing. But what's happening now, because I live right off of Grand River, what's happening now is our young folks are using the the freshly paved Grand River as their new speedway.
Yeah.
And every night, anytime between 8, like right now is 8 o'clock, and 3 o'clock in the morning, we have the Grand River Speedway between Losser and Southfield Expressway. And they're hitting the new bump outs and the new improvements, and they're tearing them up before the project is completely finished. And what we don't want is half of the bump outs and the concrete work, which is so beautiful, to be torn up before it's totally finished. So what do we do to get some additional traffic enforcement people to cruise?
Yeah, so Deputy Chief Elaine Bryan is here, and let's see if we can get an answer on that. I know every precinct commander in this city it wants the officers to get out of the academy because they want to put them on traffic patrol. But maybe the Deputy Chief can respond to, what would that be, the 8th precinct? Why don't you respond to that?
Hello, Mr. Johnson. As the mayor stated, we are working vigorously to put more traffic officers out. I actually am in charge of the traffic enforcement unit, so I got your information, and I'm going to make sure that we pay special attention to that area. We do have details, and we are aware that that is going on, and we've been trying very hard to manage the drag racing, to manage the youth that are taking advantage of the streets. So we know that it's occurring. We are trying to put additional manpower out, but based on what you just told me, I'm going to make sure that we dedicate and look specifically in that area to try to put more enforcement.
Next is Lenovo YT3X50F.
Okay, I'm not sure what that means, but I'm sure the caller does.
I didn't put my name on there, just gave you my ID on my tablet.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. You'll have to speak loudly for us.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for all you're doing. Thank you to Carla and Kaya in our District 1. They're doing a great job. I want to talk to you about the property that you've been talking about, housing. We have a couple houses on our block, the Vaughn Street Block Club, that have been sitting vacant or unoccupied. I don't want to call them vacant, but unoccupied. One of them, someone started to work on, and they did some improvements. They appeared to have taken a deposit from someone, allowed someone to move in as they represented themselves as the owners or the managers of a ownership firm or something. And we found no furnace in the house. And so my question is, how do we, as the owners in the neighborhood block clubs, others who want to help support those that are improving the property, to know who's the owner of the property? When I go to the city records, it's vague, it's behind, and Wayne County records don't help.
So here's what I can tell you. Carla Williamson has the master list. She can give you that answer. And if it is a private owner who's not keeping the house up to code, Dave Bell and the Building Safety and Engineering Department will come out and ticket them. So it sounds like you know Carla and Kaya well, and if you talk to them, they will get you the answer right away. Did I lose him? Okay. But Carla, you know who that was? Okay. So let's make sure we get back to him tomorrow. Okay, good.
Next is Yvonne.
Yvonne, you're on.
Yvonne, you're next. You may unmute yourself. Okay, we'll come back to Yvonne. Next is phone number ending in 345.
345. That should be easy enough to remember. If your phone number ends in 345, you're up. Conrad's off to the lotto store. All right. Okay.
For 345?
345 isn't here. Yvonne's not here. Who's next?
Next is phone number ending in 650.
650. If your phone number ends in that, are you with us? Okay,
I'm back to 650 as well. Oh, we have 650.
good. I was starting to get wondering there.
Hi, Deborah King calling. How are you, Mayor?
Good. Where do you live, Ms. King?
I'm off of Finkel in the Greenfield area.
Okay.
Okay, I bought this house 3 years ago. It's a very nice house. We since put a lot of work in the house as well as the outside. My problem is the sidewalk. We had trees over here that they were cutting down when we bought the house. And when I moved here, they had to come out because people was coming over to visit and see where we had moved to, and they was backing into that tree. So they ended up moving that. It was the stump of the tree. So they moved the stump. They came out and drilled it all down. Well, they kind of broke the side of the driveway, as well as my sidewalk has a big dip in it. So when it rains, my whole front area floods out. I mean, it's been going on for 2 years.
Okay, so let me
I've been in the
ask you
house
this
3
question. Was the tree that did the damage between the sidewalk and the street?
Yes.
Okay, well then that's the city's responsibility, and we are going to come out and fix it. So do we have Ms. King's telephone number? Okay, we will call you tomorrow, and Ron Brundage, I won't make him walk up here, but he's going to fix it because that is our responsibility to fix. We will get out and we'll get it fixed promptly.
Okay, because I've been waiting 2 years. I've dealt with McClendon, Pam, Lemmy, so many people. And they said it was the tree, but nobody's given us no.
Okay, Ron, are those your people? Okay.
I beg your pardon?
Okay, so Ron Brundage is in charge of that department, and you're going to hear from him tomorrow, and we're going to get the sidewalk fixed. There's no reason that we shouldn't be fixing it. If our tree broke the sidewalk, it's our responsibility to fix it promptly, and we will.
Okay, I'll try Yvonne one more time before I move on. Yvonne, you may unmute yourself. Okay, let's move on to London. London.
Okay, London is up.
There's a technical difficulty unmuting London. Let's try, I'll move back to London. Phone number ending in 432.
If your phone number ends in 432, you're next. (432). If you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello?
Hello.
Veronica Moon from North Rosedale Park.
Okay, how are you tonight?
Good to talk to you. I'm good, thank you. I'm wondering about the senior home repair program.
Okay.
After waiting several years for it to hear from them, and then finally get an approval last year, and I called to ask when will it resume, and I was told several times that they're waiting for the health department to give them the okay. I'm wondering if you can give me any direction on the resumption of this program.
I can't, but Arthur Jemison, who's in charge of the operation, can. So you and I will find out the answer together here. Mr. Jemison will come up.
Good evening. So,
good evening.
As you know, we've been dealing with a health crisis, and it affects not just the folks who are the beneficiaries of the program, but also the contractors and inspectors. So, with the help of Hakeem Berry, our chief operating officer, Donald Rencher, they've been working with the contractors and the inspectors, and I think we are very near a resolution that will allow us to resume the work. We are managing a real shortage of contractor time, and so I expect that if you give me a chance to reach him and I'm able to phone you with your contact information in the morning, I'll let you know the date that you can anticipate. Have you already had your walkthrough and your scope prepared?
No, I haven't had that.
Okay, I can give you a date certain when you will have your walkthrough, when your scope will be prepared, and when you'll be able to expect construction to begin.
Thank you so much. You've got my contact information, right?
You're going to hear from Arthur Jemison tomorrow. We have had contractors reluctant to go into people's private homes during COVID, and it slowed us down. But we think we've had a breakthrough with them, and we think it's going to get started up pretty quickly. But he'll be able to give you a definite date. But you first have to get your walkthrough and your scope so we can bid it out, and we'll get you a date on that.
Okay, next is London, and London is ready to speak.
All right, London is unmuted.
All right, hello. This is not London. That's my daughter. So
Okay.
Yeah, so she got me on. So my name is Vanessa Lowe, and I believe I'm in District 1, 7
Okay.
Mile and Southfield area.
Okay.
How are you today, sir?
I'm good, Ms. Lowe. How are you?
I'm pretty good myself. Okay, my complaint is going to start with about 3 different things. So, far as the rubbish and the debris that's around the neighborhood, in my neighborhood, I've been seeing a lot of that. It hasn't been picked up one time because of the debris has been there so long, it's been turned brown 3 times. And although they've been fixing our streets around here, around the neighborhood, they've been setting the trash and debris on the front of the houses of the people on the lawn. So, and half of them got trees. So I'm wondering if they're not picking it up because they're near trees, but it's an eyesore coming off of 7 Mile in Sunderland, right there where the Mercedes cleaner has closed. And it's just lined up, and it's been sitting there for months. I'm really having a problem with that.
Okay, we're going to we've got an issue with Advance that we're dealing with in general, but it sounds like your issues go beyond that. So Ron Brundage is going to come out and get that tomorrow. So what street from where to where?
I lost her. Just a moment, please. Can we contact her?
We have her contact information. So Ron will reach out to you, and if large piles have been left on vacant lots, DPW will come out and get it, and he'll take care of that tomorrow.
Next is Violester Johnson.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Ms. Johnson. Go ahead.
Vi Johnson, and I'm in North Rosedale Park. And you were talking about the IHOP is going to be a 36-unit building.
We hope so.
What are we going to do about the parking in that area?
So is Arthur still here? Okay, so Arthur went to charge his cell phone. But the question, if you missed it, is when the housing gets built at the IHOP site, do you have a plan on where the parking is going to be?
Good evening. Every development has to have adequate parking, and in order to get its zoning and other boards and approvals complete. My understanding of this plan, I was in a meeting where we were briefed on this about 2 weeks ago, is that the final parking arrangements are being made right now. And as you saw in the image that the mayor showed, the final layout is being put together now as well. So did you have a specific concern about where the parking might be?
Can't see me when you do that. Flip that around. I want to see me.
I just can't, there's not a lot of street parking. So I just wanted to make sure there's designated parking so that it doesn't tie that area, it doesn't congest that area.
I understand your concern. It is right there in that intersection, and its relationship to the parkway and the other things that are going on there is really important. And that's one of the things I was briefed on when I was speaking with my development team about the project. There are a lot of different ways to accommodate parking on a site like that. They might have parking on the first level in an area that is less exposed to the street, and that'd be a way for them to get some parking that's kind of inside the building without having to dig underground. But I do know that all the circulation issues there were the primary issue that my team members were speaking with GRDC about and the developer about. So I can assure you that if it's being talked about now and they're in concept design, that there's going to be a formal approach to make sure that parking is available. If you would like, I can also make sure that there's a community meeting during this part of the process where people can walk you through the different options that might exist for parking at that site.
That would be great.
Okay. Is it possible that I could get the contact information for the caller? Great. I'll make sure that Dave Walker and Michelle Flournoy and potentially, hopefully, Caitlin Marcone all together sit down and talk with you about it.
Next,
This is why I love doing this. I learn so much from these questions and answers. So go ahead. Now I know more about that project.
next is Brian. You're ready to go, Brian.
Brian, you on?
Yes, I am. I'm Brian Ferguson. I'm the president of Schoolcraft Improvement Association right here in D1, and I got my community with me.
You guys do great work. Okay. A watch party. I'm glad to see you're watching me and not the Republican convention. Go ahead.
Right. Wouldn't have it no other way.
All right.
Fair. A couple of things. We would like to have cameras up on for illegal dumping on Fullerton in my neighborhood. And that would be between Greenfield all the way down to Southfield Freeway. And we can't get the cameras right away. We would like to have some no dumping signs, because the building that you took down for our community a few years ago was fantastic, but now it poses another problem. They're starting to dump there, and we can't keep a handle on it.
So let me say this. I'll refer it to DPW and the police department. DPW keeps track of where they go into the same lot over and over and pull stuff out. And we put hidden cameras in, and we've seized lots of dumping vehicles. But we normally don't announce publicly where we're putting them because the dumpers know how to avoid the camera. But we will come out and evaluate your site and see if we can't find a way one way or another, whether it's signage, cameras, or another strategy. But with all the work that you have done in that area, I definitely want to support you on this.
All right, and the second one real quick, I know we've been beating it up, speed bumps. Our community has been asking for speed bumps for a while now, and we help other communities get speed bumps, and we haven't gotten ours yet. So can you give us a date when that can happen?
I went out when one of them was installed in the early part of the year, and there was a fella sitting on the porch next to the speed hump, and I said to him, "How do you feel about it?" He said, "I kissed it when you put it in. I love the speed hump more than my wife." And I got to tell you, the level of passion for speed humps in this city is remarkable. So Ron Brundage is going to dramatically increase the budget for speed humps next year, and we're gonna get there. So this is something we're learning as we go. We started with the schools and the parks, made sure we got them done this year. And we're going to work through. It's not going to help on a Fullerton or a Schoolcraft, but it will help on the residential streets.
Okay. Next is phone number ending in 308.
Okay, if your last three numbers are 308, you're up.
Daniel Miller is Willie Rick Fall from West Evergreen Block Club.
Okay.
Yes, I moved out Evergreen back in October last year.
Right.
And I would like to know, can I still be a part of Get to One program since I moved off the Block Club?
You want to be part of which program?
Evergreen Block Club.
Okay, I'm
I
trying
moved
to.
off last year.
Okay, you say you do live in the neighborhood or you don't live in the neighborhood?
No, I moved off Evergreen last year, October.
Okay, where are you living now?
Can I, 7 Mile in Greenfield.
Okay, you liked your old neighborhood Block Club better?
I like my Evergreen Block Club. Yes, I stayed over there over 10 years, and I like to come back and do the program over there if I can.
Okay, I tell you what, I'm going to have Carla Williamson, your district manager, call you tomorrow. And it's not too often we have somebody move who wants to go back to their old block club. I hadn't heard this one, but Carla's going to work it out with you. And I'm sure if your old neighbors still feel good about you, we can work that out.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
All right. So Carla will call you in the morning.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Now, there's a committed block club member. I should have asked him to organize one where he moved. I was not thinking fast enough. All right. Go ahead.
Okay. Next is Wells. Wells.
How do you spell Wells?
Wells.
Wells. All right. Wells, you're up.
Hello, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
This is Shireen Wells from the Miller Grove area.
Okay.
And I mentioned it earlier, but advanced disposal, we're still having some problems with them picking up our bags.
I know.
And hearing that they're missing the recycle cans too.
So we are sending them a notice. putting them on notice that they're in breach of contract and giving them the opportunity to cure under that contract. I'm definitely losing patience with them. So we do not have the same kind of complaints with GFL on the other side of town, and there's no excuse for the complaints we're hearing about Advance. And so they're going to be getting a breach of contract letter very shortly. In fact, they might find out about it in this speech, but it's coming to them shortly. So I'm on top of it. There's not a section on that side of town where I'm not hearing complaints about this company.
Okay, good. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Next is Kyra.
Kyra, you're up.
Hi, Mayor, Mr. Mayor, how are you?
Good.
Can you hear me?
I hear you just fine. Where do you live?
I live in the 6 Mile Lasher area.
Okay.
And my concern is I'm a Detroit developer. I moved back into the area that I like to develop in. I own property in the area. I have been trying for over 2 months to get in a property on Argus Street. I've talked to Dave Walker. I've got with Kaya and Carla, but we have had no way of getting in the building. We've been talking to Felicia from Signature, but nothing.
Carla, do we know the answer to this? Carla Williamson is going to come up and give you the answer here. Go ahead.
Good evening, Ms. Jefferson. This is Carla Williamson. We did ask about the property on Argus. They are looking at some possible development in the area. They are still reviewing the application, and we were told that they would make that decision and reach out to you in the next couple weeks. So that was last week. I would imagine you would get a call either tomorrow. Well, you will get a call tomorrow. I'll just follow up to see exactly where they are at letting you in the property and where they are with your application. I have her contact information. I'll do that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
We'll see if that property isn't already spoken for in a bigger development. We'll work it out with you, and if it is, we'll see if we can't find you some other property in the area because we definitely want your talents rebuilding your own neighborhood. So one way or another, we'll help you.
Okay, next is phone number ending in 866.
866, if that's your last 3 digits. You're up.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, this is Sheila Chives.
And where do you live?
I'm in District 1, Blackstone Street.
Okay.
Hi, Mr. Mayor.
How are you?
We met a couple of years ago. We did a block club. You came over to our block club meeting. Well, we're still having the same problem over on Blackstone as far as speed bumps. People speeding up our street.
I know.
And also it's people that live on our block that is not taking care of their properties. And the electricity, every time we get a blackout over there, the lines over there is horrible. And I don't know what we're going to do as far as DTE, as far as fixing lines over there. We can have a lot of power outages over there in our area. And also, police. We have the 8th precinct that's right around the corner. And I have like 2 major drug houses on our block. If we had when Officer Williams was policing our block, we had no problems because he made his presence felt. And now we just don't have that police presence felt.
Was he a neighborhood police officer? What happened to him?
I don't know.
So are you saying that the neighborhood police officer who replaced Officer Williams is not as good? All right. So,
exactly.
So I know Deputy Chief Bryant's going to deal with that. She's got her pen out and she's taking notes. So most of our neighborhood police officers do an outstanding job on exactly this kind of issue, and we're going to find out what's going on there, and she'll follow up. Dave Bell is responsible for the inspections, and he's going to get your name and number from the staff here, and he'll give you a call tomorrow about...
Williams knows me well, her and Kaya.
Okay. Well, you'll get a call from Dave Bell tomorrow as far as enforcing code on other people on your street. So let's see if we can't get a little bit more energy out of your neighborhood police officer and a little bit more energy out of our inspectors. He got moved to the protest. This is the story of our summer. Okay. So it's been unfortunate that we've had to pull a lot of people out of neighborhoods to deal with these protesters every night. But let's see what we can do. I'm glad to hear that he was doing well. So you think he's coming back? Okay. So when this Detroit Will Breathe group stops doing this, you'll get your neighborhood police officer back. But let's see what we can do in the meantime. There's no reason we can't hit the drug houses. So you're going to get a call tomorrow, and we will follow up on these things.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Who's next?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor? And also, Advantage, the garbage disposal,
Yeah.
you guys need to seal your contract with them.
Yeah, I know.
Because they are no good.
I'm aware. I'm aware. We're going to deal with them really firmly. Okay, who's next?
Next is phone number ending in 709.
Okay, if your phone number ends in 709, you're up.
You are unmuted, 709.
709, you can go ahead and say hello.
Hey.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yes, this is Ramsey out of District 1, and I got a couple of issues I'm concerned about.
Okay, what neighborhood are you in?
Apartment building. I beg your pardon?
What neighborhood are you in?
District 1.
Yeah, but what streets?
Finkel and Foyer.
Okay, I'm with you now. Go ahead.
Okay, now there's a couple of apartment buildings, one on the corner of Finkel and Greenfield, and one that's located, address is 15650 and 15550.
Right.
Finkel. And there's an apartment building on the corner of Finkel and Sussex that's about to be abandoned, I believe. But the first two are wide open. They need to be boarded up. It's unkept. And plus, there's trash everywhere.
All right.
Trash on Finkel and Southfield. Trash up and down the side drive. Trash it's ridiculous. The trash is around the city. And is it possible that the city can distribute trash containers, the 55-gallon drums at major intersections, and where they can be picked up by the city once a week, and let people keep the streets clean if there containers to put them in. Can you recruit from city high schools for police officers? That would be a good job for us, for our young black team. And I'm concerned about the vacant building.
Okay, so let me start with this. Brad, Dick, can we get those apartments boarded tomorrow, Brad? Brad will board the apartment buildings up tomorrow, so let us start with that. If I thought putting a huge trash drum every mile would keep people from throwing trash in between, I would do it. I'm not convinced that's going to be a good strategy. But Carla, maybe you can work with the group, maybe organize a neighborhood cleanup and see if we can't find some solutions to that. As far as the recruitment, we do have cadet programs with the high school students. We aren't necessarily looking to get police officers at 18 years old. We'd like to get a little bit more maturity. It's an extraordinary 18-year-old who's ready to be a police officer, but we are actively recruiting in this city, and we're adding 35 to 40 a month to the police academy. And so that recruitment right now is going well. I'm told we still have a number of hands raised. We're supposed to stop at 8:30. We're going to go to 8:45. So I'm going to keep taking questions for another 15, 20 minutes. Go ahead. Who's next?
Next is phone number ending in 377. Please unmute yourself.
377, if that's your last three digits.
I'll come back. We'll move on to...
Hello.
Okay, go ahead.
How you doing? Tom O'Brien from Old Redford.
Okay, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. I just want to thank you for everything that you've done, from the bankruptcy to straightening out your departments to bringing business to the city. and also compliment you on your District 1 manager, Carla Williamson.
Okay, well, we're going to
And
keep Carla.
And I just forwarded her and Dave Walker and Michelle Florney a couple things that I'd like you to review. And Carla said she'd get with you.
Okay.
And that's it. And I just appreciate
Thank you.
everything that's been done.
Thank you. All right, appreciate it. Who's next?
Next is Terry.
Terry, you're up.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm fine. My name is Terry Satchel, and I am from the District 1, and I live off of Lasher between Grand River and 7 Mile.
Okay.
And yes, and I'm calling for a great big thank you to the mayor's office, especially Carla Williamson and Chris Akins with Flagstar Bank. Because of you all, I was granted a neighborhood impact program grant, and I received $7,500 to repair my roof. Well, no, to get a brand new roof.
Wow.
I moved in this area 10 years ago, and I brought it on a land contract, and I am just so happy that you all had that program and that I benefited from the program. But I wanted to say something about Carla Williamson. She was wonderful. She worked with me day and night. So I want to say kudos to her, and especially Flagstar Bank, because of you all, our roof looks beautiful. We have brand new gutters. So I just wanted to say thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, well, Carla's fan club seems to be calling in right now. Arthur Jemison did a great job with the Strategic Neighborhood Fund, and 7 companies put $5 million into different neighborhoods. And Flagstar Bank has been a great partner. They put $5 million into that old Redford area, and you're an example. If we can get the solid housing stock, it's going to provide customers for all that work we're doing at Grand River and Lasser for those businesses. So thank you for the call. Who's next?
Next is Kevin.
Kevin, you're up.
Hi, Mayor Duggan.
How are you?
I'm fine. I stay on Stahaley in District 1.
Okay.
Another neighbor called about the sidewalks on Stahaley.
Right.
Problem we have it over here, they did the streets. They did all around Rosedale Park. They've been telling me that they're going to put new water lines in before they can repair the sidewalk. They put the barrels up to do the sidewalk from 6 Mile to Puritan. They took the barrels up and did from Florence to Puritan. And they're not doing the sewer line. The streets over here are terrible. The sidewalks are terrible over here. Little girl fell on her bike hitting bumps and stuff. They've been telling me for 5 years. I came down your office, get a petition to you that the neighbors want the sidewalks done over here. Nothing is being done. They alienate this street. On Warwick, the next block over, they run the sewer lines all the way from 6 Mile to Puritan. On Avon, the next street over, they run from 6 Mile to Puritan.
All right, so we'll add your number. Palencia Mobley will call you tomorrow. As she told the earlier caller, she did not know offhand whether Stahaley was scheduled on a water line, but she'll call you tomorrow and get you that answer.
Next is Cher.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. This
Good
is
evening.
Sarah Con, president of the Plainview Block Club Association over in Westwood Park area.
Okay.
First of all, I wanted to thank, I guess this is praises for Carla Williamson.
Okay.
Her and Captain Kyra Hope, Commander Williamson and Patterson, we had a serious problem with speed in our area. They did a blitz past weekend, and the neighbors were very happy to see the law enforcement out, traffic enforcement out, and handling a club that had been a part of the problem in our area with the speeding. But also, of course, we are requesting speed bumps as well.
Right.
I wanted to thank you again and Rochelle Riley for when I suggested that we have a citywide memorial, that you guys have done such an awesome job putting this together. And so many people are excited about this, to have the opportunity to mourn the family members that have not been able to have proper funerals for this event.
One of the things that I did want to bring up, and I know it has been difficult because I talked to Miss Riley about it today, was that some of the families do have larger families that they just can't fit in one vehicle for the actual event, and that includes myself. So I was wondering if there are certain exceptions we can make for the actual event that day to have at least an additional vehicle for other family members that were not able
Michelle,
to
can
have.
people bring two cars?
Pardon? Pardon?
So Rochelle is saying that if you're going to use two cars, she'd like you to do it on Tuesday because of the number of people we're pushing through on Monday.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Also, DTE has gone through our area and put down the pipeline. Neighbors are asking me when is the turnaround time for when they're going to repair the front lawns the berms that they dug up.
Okay.
And also on Schoolcraft and Evergreen when they're digging up the for the pipeline there at the Citigo gas station. A lot of time, and that's where we're having a problem with
Okay.
the
Let me
hall.
just find out the answer. Carla, do you know when they're going to have the turnaround? Okay. So what Carla Williamson is saying is they normally finish the whole street and do the grass seed about a week later. If they're behind that, are they behind that schedule? Did we lose her? Okay, Carla will call you tomorrow, but that's the normal schedule.
I'm here. Can
Okay,
you hear
so,
me?
yeah, what Carla is saying is that normally DTE does the entire street. When the whole street is done, they go and put the grass seed down like a week later. So my question is, are they behind that schedule?
Yes.
Okay, so Carla will call you in the morning, and she'll get with DTE and see if we can address it.
Also,
Okay, who's next?
Next is Luis.
Luis, you're up.
Hi, Mayor. Brightmoor. Been in Brightmoor 3 years now. I own land between Burt Road and Outer Drive.
Okay.
Eaton and Outer Drive where it bends.
Right, I know where it is.
So there's about 6 groups. We are landowners. It's basically blocks without any houses. There's been a lot of criminal activity in the past 6 months, and there's always dumping going on in that area. So Carla and I were talking the day that Motor City Makeover was happening about potentially closing the streets altogether. I know I would need support from I just needed some guidance as far as what the first step would be.
So what streets do you want to close? Did we lose him? Do you know the names of the streets you want to close?
You can unmute yourself, Luis.
Luis, we think you've muted yourself by accident.
Oh, sorry about that.
There you go. So what streets would you like to close?
Well, we're talking about Westbrook and Blackstone initially, but
So Ron, I'm going to have Ron Brundage talk to you about the process for petitioning to close the street and how that might work.
Okay, thank you.
Luis, it's actually can be a pretty complicated process, so I think it'll be good if we have an opportunity to talk tomorrow so that I can go in detail with the different steps. But just so you know, one of the things that we'll look at before we can consider closing off a street, is it safe for me to assume that there are no occupied houses on that street?
That is correct.
Okay. So one of the things and that's the first step that makes it a possibility. So one of the things that we need to do is understand what's going on underneath the road. So we'll reach out to all of the different city departments such as DWSD as well as agencies such as DTE to see if they have some infrastructure under there that might present a challenge. But what I'd like to do is to reach out to you tomorrow along with my city engineer, and then we can kind of sit down and give you a thorough understanding of what the process is.
Okay.
Next is Pamela.
Pamela, you are up.
Good evening, Mayor Duggan. How
Good
are
evening.
you?
Good.
You can hear me.
I hear you just fine.
Wonderful. So several other residents have been eloquent in their calling your attention to the speed humps and the speeding. So I don't want to beat a dead horse. I want to come at it maybe a little bit different angle. It is the most common complaint that I hear from all of the people in my neighborhood, which is Rosedale Park. And I just want to try to frame it for you that the atmosphere we live in right now is full of anxiety and uncertainty. And hearing these cars racing up and down our streets at all hours of the day and night, and there's an additional little component to it, which is both children and adults riding these little mini bikes all over the neighborhood, again, at all hours of the day and night. It kind of creates this atmosphere of existential lawlessness that really eats away at people's sense of security. So while I'm heartened to hear that there are more officers coming out of the academy, and it would be amazing to have traffic enforcement, I can't remember when there's been traffic enforcement on the streets of Detroit.
Time.
I just urge you to think in an even bigger, more global way about what can be done about this. There's no question that it is increased exponentially since the shutdown in March. I don't.
Okay, I understand. I got a bunch of other callers. I'm the one that brought speed humps to the city. I'm a total believer. 1,200 this year is a huge number. We're going to do another huge number next year, and we're going to push them out as fast as we possibly can. So I understand the urgency. Okay, so I got about time for 3 more calls. If it's speed humps, please, let's skip it and let's go to the next subject. Who's next?
Next is phone number ending in 422.
422, you're up. Good evening. I think you may have muted yourself by mistake there.
422, please unmute yourself. We'll come back to you and move on to Connie.
Connie, you're up.
Hi, I'm here.
Okay. Well, you sound happy.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the call. I have a couple of questions to get the speed bump. Tree trimming on my street. My name is Connie Parham. I'm on Lauder Street, right at 6 Mile. And right at Swanson Funeral Home. And the tree that is near the street, and even in front of my house, branches are falling. We've had no type of tree trimming at all. I'd like some information on that, or what do we need to do for that?
So if the tree is in danger of falling over, we will come out and get it. If the branches are a traffic hazard, we will get them. That's right now where our priorities are. So I don't know if it would fall in the category of a traffic hazard. If it is, we will come out and get it.
Okay, 422 is now ready.
Okay, so make sure we follow up with that last caller and the address. Okay.
I'm sorry, we were lost. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Hello, Mayor Duggan?
Yes.
Hello? Yes, hi, this is Johnny Wilford from Ashton Block Club, and plus I'm a member of O'Hara Park Association.
Right.
I'm calling about, I have a serious problem over here on Southfield Service Drive. From Pembroke all the way to 7 Mile, we have these trees, build up, and it's just hanging over. You can't see. People is dumping over there constantly. It seems like DTE, we need those trees cut down. so people can see, because we can't see. It look horrible over here. And then also, like on the freeway part, is trees. No one is cutting down the trees or the freeway. It look horrible over here on Southfield Service Drive, and we need something done about that. And plus, even over here in our area, our trees on the lines, like the lady was talking about, eventually we're going to have really serious problems. I have been constantly calling and saying the best time really to cut these trees is when these tree branches, when these leaves start dying off these lines, so they can see to cut these branches off these lines.
Okay, so if it's on the, if it's on the line, we'll get DTE out. Carla will do that. If it's a tree that's a traffic hazard, we will get out. We'll have Brad come out and check it tomorrow. I wish we could be in the business of aesthetics, but we're just not financially there. Right now, we're dealing with trees that are hazards to fall over and trees that are hazards to traffic, and that's the priority right now. But certainly DTE is spending a huge amount of money trimming trees to get them out of the lines, and we'll have Carla follow up on that tomorrow. All right, as we're past 8:45 now, we'll take this call, be the last call of the evening. Go ahead.
Hey, Pamela, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, Pamela, you are up. Last call of the night.
Pamela? Okay,
Let's go on to the next one.
Phone number ending in 160.
160. If you answer, you'll be our last call. Your phone number ends in 160. All right, let's try one more.
Okay, Doug.
Doug, if you're on, you're up.
Hi, my name is Doug Russell. I'm primarily in Old Redford. Me and my partner did the community engagement for the Old Redford Link project last year. Hi, sorry, can you hear me?
Go ahead, we're hearing you just fine.
Okay, great. And so I'm concerned about this sort of style of proposal N in the sense of blight clearance followed by a public-private partnership where we sort of reach out to the general market, you know, Flagstar, the other SNF partners. We've been engaging in that sort of model since the Fair Housing Act passed in the 60s with pretty limited success for anybody who falls into poverty or even in the middle class. And there's no long-term affordability plan in place yet. And that's been teased now for quite a long time. It was discussed as being imminent in last November and is not out yet. And so it's very concerning, as you know, having engaged directly with the community in what was meant to be a private-public partnership of the Old Redford Link project.
Time.
What was supposed to happen with Holcomb, and to see the shortcomings there.
Well, there's no shortage of energy. So the housing department had a contract with a group that we thought would put affordable housing in Holcomb School. I'd like to tell you that every single time we pick a contractor, they succeed. I would say 70% of the time they do, but we're going back out again. We've secured that school building, so that it's been preserved. We're going to go back out again, and we will get a partner. And Arthur, what's the timing on Holcomb School now? Okay, so and Arthur Jemison says we will very shortly be coming back with a contract with the new developer, but it isn't always easy to get these housing deals done. We've gotten affordable housing projects built all over the city. We've gotten thousands of units built. We're going to stay with it till we get Holcomb built. All right, well, thank you very much for the calls. If we didn't get to you today, John, when's the next one? September 1st is District 7 will be the call. It'll be 7 o'clock. So if we didn't get you today, please feel free to call in on September 1st and have a great night.